The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, Earthlings. Another week of broadcasting right here on the John Lebang Show is coming your way. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another hour of the John Lebang Show. I'm your host, John Lebang, and we got some interesting stuff to talk about this evening, so let's begin. Scientists warn of mysterious and deadly new epidemic called Disease X that could kill millions around the world. The World Health Organization has added the unknown feature pathogen to its list of deadly threats to mankind. An unknown and deadly new illness dubbed Disease X has been added to the list of potential global epidemics that could potentially kill millions. And unlike other pathogens, it is not known what causes Disease X or how doctors could try to treat it. This so-called Disease X could even, ladies and gentlemen, be man-made. Rather than a fluke of nature, there are growing fears that the use of and development of chemical and biological weapons are on the rise. And close to home, the police have confirmed that a nerve agent, probably created by a lab by a state-sponsored scientist as a targeted weapon, was used to attack a former Russian spy and his daughter in Salisbury this week. So now we have another pathogen, another virus, another health issue that is growing, and the scientists are worried because they don't know whatever this Disease X is, if it's a natural thing or it's man-made, but I think they're leaning to the man-made side of things. And it wouldn't surprise me because we've been dabbling in chemical weapons and bioweapons for ages now. It's no new secret. So when we're presented with the possibility of a new pathogen that could wreak havoc on the world, it's not going to scare me in the least, or at least it's not going to surprise me in the least. In fact, nothing much ever surprises me. So that's another thing we're having to keep our eye out for, as if there's just not enough bad things that happen on this planet for us to worry about. Now we have to worry about that there's a possible man-made pathogen out there going to kill millions of people around the world. We had Ebola that didn't quite transpire as they thought it would. We've had other scares in the recent years that haven't turned out as scary as they projected it to be. So either our health organizations around the world are doing a fantastic job, or they're sending up red flags for no reason at all. In other news, we have Trump to meet North Korean leader by May. That's right, President Donald Trump has accepted an offer of a summit from the North Korean leader, Kim Ding Dong, as we dub him here. And he will meet with him sometime by May, so probably in April. And this was negotiated by a South Korean official in a what would be considered by the mainstream media as a remarkable turnaround in relations between the two historic adversaries. Or is it just more political theater? Kim Ding Dong and the Twitter Don are going to get together. Now that will be an interesting conversation. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they have their meeting. Hello, Mr. Kim. I mean Ding Dong. Gotta tell you, I love the name.
Oh, most honorable to meet you. I'm a big fan. Would you like some kimchi?
No, thanks. Let's get down to business. Because if we get done early enough, I'm going to try to visit Vlad on this trip.
I understand.
So what do you want to talk about?
I have missiles and I want stuff.
No offense, Kim, but that's not much of a threat. We shot down the one you fired at Hawaii. It was a big, huge fail. Don't you remember?
I do.
You know, it was so weak, we even called it a false alarm. Nice try, though.
We will not be threatened by America.
Listen, we wouldn't even pay attention to your country if you would just mind your own business and keep your big mouth shut.
Well, we want things.
I'll make a deal with you.
What is that?
I need a huge win in foreign policy so I can get reelected in 2020. If you give up your nuclear program, or at least pretend you are, I'll hook you up with Stormy. We're really good friends, if you know what I mean.
I'll have to think about it.
That's all I ask. Now, before I go, I'd like to ask you about my friend, Dennis Rodman. Have you talked to him lately? He won't return my calls after I fired him for misspelling Melania's name.
He is happy we are talking.
Good. Tell him to call me sometimes.
I will do that.
All right, I gotta go. Meeting Vlad for lunch. It's gonna be huge. So what are gonna come out of these talks? Who knows? If you ask my opinion, they're giving Kim Ding Dong some legitimacy by even having talks with this guy. All he's been doing is spouting off, throwing missiles around, acting irresponsible as a leader, and here's Donald Trump gonna sit down with him, have a conversation with him, giving him some legitimacy. Hopefully they do it in South Korea or some neutral country like China, and old DT doesn't head over there to North Korea. Maybe we should invite him over here. Let's have a state dinner, Mr. President. Bring in Kim Ding Dong and all the other ones. Bring in Ahmadinejad over there in Iran. Isn't he trying to run, or wasn't he trying to run for president again? Bring them all in. All these crazy whack jobs from around the world. Bring in Putin. Shoot, you can have Nancy Pelosi there and Hillary. Bring them all in and have a giant state dinner and just have yourself a good time. Do it here in America. In a companion story to Trump, Anderson Blooper is going to interview Stormy Daniels for 60 minutes. The president and the porn star has been a top story over the past few weeks due to allegations that date back to 2006. Supposedly, she had a consensual relationship with the Twitter Don that year. And before the president was elected president, she was paid apparently $130,000 through a non-disclosure agreement to not talk about it, to not discuss it. I have a few questions for the audience out there. Do you even care that Donald might have had a relationship with a porn star, if he actually did? What about the fact that this is a porn star we're talking about, and Anderson Blooper is stooping that low to get dirt on the Donald, that they're going to believe a porn star, they're going to talk to a porn star resurrect her career, help her career out. Now she's going to be known by more people. Just to discredit Donald Trump, a porn star who, if this is all true, agreed to not talk about their relationship, got paid for it, and now she wants to back out of the deal because apparently the Donald didn't sign it. But the Donald is not actually on the supposed contract that she is talking about, this agreement, so to speak, and the Donald's lawyers paid her all this money to shut her up or something. Do you really, as the American taxpayer, as the American voter, do you really care that DT might have had a relationship and didn't really want it to come out? And if this isn't true, or also, do you believe a porn star who took $130,000 to keep her mouth quiet, obviously she's not a millionaire. There's all this money Donald has, and apparently $130,000. Is she going to give that money back if she doesn't? If the agreement, because she's suing to talk about this stuff. Maybe she can get more money for it on the news networks and writing a book about it. See, that's where I think all this is going. Doesn't matter to me that the president had some kind of relationship with some porn star. Nobody cared about or nobody cares anymore about Mr. Clinton's many different kinds of relationships he's had with very young people who he probably didn't pay to shut their mouth up, and that's why he got in trouble over it. Nobody cares about it. So if nobody cares about Bill Clinton's extramarital relationships, then why should anybody care about Mr. Donald Trump's extramarital relationships or relationships outside of with a porn star? Do you guys care? I want to know. Does that hurt his credibility with you because he slept with a porn star who had big old things, and who is, if he did it, because I don't know if he did it, and it doesn't matter to me, but does it matter to you? John and Jane Doe out there in Radioland, do you really care if the president had a relationship and then told her to keep quiet about it because he was going to be president? And how trustworthy is she? How honorable is she that if she did make an agreement, now she's trying to back out? Probably because there's more money in disclosing stuff like that than there was in keeping it quiet. So she's going to break her agreement, or trying to find a way to break her agreement. And then she was on a TV show, Kimball's, the other day, or whatever his name is, another schmeckle on mainstream media. And he's asking her all sorts of questions. She didn't confirm anything. So we'll leave it up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Do you even care if Donald Trump had a relationship with a porn star? We've got to take a quick time out because we're right up against it, folks. More on the flip side, as we have so much more to talk about on the other side of this.
Now don't get your panties all worked up.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
And you'll love it.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births, and deaths, epic concerts and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good tie stick, man. Yes, I would like some too.
The Australian diplomat whose tip prompted FBI Russian probe has ties to guess who, ladies and gentlemen? The Clintons. That's right. Downer, now Australia's ambassador to London, provided the account of a conversation with Trump's campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, at a London bar in 2016 that became the official reason the FBI opened the Russian counterintelligence probe. But, of course, lawmakers say the FBI didn't tell Congress Downer's prior connection to the Clinton Foundation. Here's the FBI again, given half-truths, not telling the full story to the congressional hearings there. But the FBI, they've been in the news a lot lately, and every time they're in the news, something negative is coming from them. Either they're not investigating or not taking out these terrorists and shooters. I mean, they've been even caught aiding and abetting a few of them, like the guy that was going to bomb the Federal Reserve building, and they just happened to stop him in time, but they provided him with all the bomb-making material. You can look that up yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Type in Google. It's real easy. FBI Federal Reserve bomber, and start reading about that subject. We've covered it here many times on the show. Then we have this story that is growing, and we talked about it last week. White South Africans face genocide. Their leader says, "We are cutting the throats of whiteness." All this comes out first comes out in February, where they're just going to take the lands. That's actually a little bit over a week ago. South African Parliament voted to allow the seizure of land from white farmers without compensation. During an EFF campaign speech, the big leader over there cranked up his rhetoric and hate and hostility towards South African white people, saying that his party had decided to remove the mayor of Port Elizabeth because he is a white man. And he encouraged his followers to go after the white man and to cut the throat of whiteness. Let me play you a little bit of that video.
So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Now, I understand this is South Africa and not the United States, but I don't see why we don't have an outcry against this leader in South Africa. Because if it went the other way around, where we would hear outcries from not only the U.S. media, but the European media and any other media that decries racial hostilities. But we're not getting any mainstream coverage of this event that's going on in South Africa. We also have a Mexican man who assumes an American identity for 37 years, and he steals $361,000 at least in government benefits. An illegal immigrant and repeat felon who bilked federal, state, and local governments out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits, according to a plea agreement entered into San Diego federal court this week. California, they're just awesome out there. Sanctuary state all the way around. He was armed with fake birth certificates. He developed a seemingly legitimate persona by applying for California license, because they give everybody a license, a social security number, how he got that, trying to figure that one out, and a U.S. passport. But that's not it for California, because California is such a great state. We have this. Thousands of pounds of human waste, close to 14,000 hypodermic needles cleaned out from California homeless encampments. Can you imagine that, folks? Orange County Public Works released eye-popping figures Thursday on the total amount of debris, needles, and hazardous waste removed when crews cleaned up an area along Santa Ana River, once populated by the encampments of homeless people. Here's what the collection between January 2nd and March 3rd found. From I-5 to Orange County Bale Road in Anaheim, 404 tons of debris. Tons. These are from homeless people. 13,950 needles, 5,279 pounds of human waste. California, you're doing a great job allowing those people to live in these encampments. And the question is, why are there so many homeless in California if it's the utopian state that it's always portrayed to be? Why is that? I mean, you've got fabulous politicians like Nancy Pelosi out there. And she's telling you, hey, just recently, politicians could learn a lot from drag queens. So we have a massive cleanup in California. We have the politicians who are just outstanding individuals and use drag queens as role models for politicians. Maybe Nancy Pelosi is a drag queen. You know, I've never thought about that. I always thought she was just a crazy woman. But maybe she's a drag queen. She's just a little skinny guy who looked a little feminine. Now, have you seen any of the videos lately? She had a 15-minute speech and she was grasping for words the whole time. She's losing it. So we have that. Not only do we have a guy who ripped off the government, Mexican man, who ripped off the government right there in California, federal, state, and local. He was stealing money to the tune of $361,000 that could have went somewhere else. But this guy lived for free, it looks like. He probably was on some kind of welfare program, probably got food stamps, health insurance. Illegal alien, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what we're going to end up doing? We're probably going to house this guy in a jail somewhere, and he's going to get $30,000 to $40,000 worth of room and board in a prison somewhere. It's just incredible. But it's in California, and that's a fabulous state. I know we have some excellent affiliates out there, but man, somebody needs to get on their government out there, I think. I keep hearing that California is a utopia. It's the progressive mecca of the country. Yet I don't see the utopianism when you've got the streets of San Francisco littered with waste. You got parts of San Diego littered with waste. Parts of all over Orange County littered with waste and human feces. And it costs taxpayers. Just imagine how much it must have cost the taxpayers of California to clean up 404 tons of debris, 14,000 hypodermic needles, and almost 5,300 pounds of human waste. So I think California should probably stop worrying about being a sanctuary state and get their house in order, because something isn't right out in California. It is not the utopian mecca that they claim it to be. And if it is, where is it? I've been to LA. That's not a great place to be in. It's not the cleanest town ever. We've had rides down there. You know, there are some parts of California that are really nice. By the numbers, it doesn't look that way. Can you imagine if they got to run the country like they wish they could? If we just did everything by popular vote? In the last election, if we would have let California settle it all by popular vote, we'd still have Hillary, and we'd be heading down the same road. Although, you know, it's regardless of what my so-called Republican friends continually promote out there, Twitter Don is not holding up his end of the bargain. Just last week we talked about him talking about gun controls. Speaking of gun control, on the other side of the break here, we're going to talk about a little bit more of that Florida shooter. But the Twitter Don there, we have a tax plan that helps mega corporations out. Doesn't help the individual out. I knew it wouldn't. I told you it wouldn't. I looked at my paycheck again this week for 2 weeks. Couple bucks difference. I think I made $3 different this week. So for 2 weeks, the prior check it was $11, and now it's $2 or $3. That's just going to be awesome for me. Awesome for me for the year. It's really going to help out my economy, Mr. Trump. And that was promoted as a success. They still haven't gotten rid of Obamacare, Mr. Trump. Where's the wall, Mr. Trump? And how's Mexico going to pay for it, Mr. Trump? You know, when we look at the so-called accomplishments of the current administration, there's not much there. And their touted accomplishments are barely accomplishments. Sure, they're great for maybe Wall Street and corporations, you know, because they give everybody jobs, right? And that's the argument you get from the Republicans. All these corporations give everybody jobs. Well, we don't want jobs per se. We want a better life. And we don't want to be beholden to have to go to a corporation to work for the rest of our lives. I mean, that's slavery in its own right. But hey, you know what? Who cares, right? We had a giant job growth, and we'll talk about that as well, because all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people went to work or got jobs last month. We'll talk about that on the other side of this.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Powerful. Epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now, VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Help Care. There when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable Mayans who collaborate, must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In the continuing story of the latest shooting that happened in Florida, here's some news that I thought I'd bring up to you. SWAT members are suspended for responding to Florida massacre. Did not misspeak, ladies and gentlemen. Get this. A pair of Florida SWAT team members have been suspended over their response to the deadly Parkland High shooting for rushing to the scene to help. The SWAT members are being disciplined for jumping into action and racing to the rampage scene without permission. Why would they need permission to protect our high school kids, our students? Why would there be any? Hey, can we, where there's a shooter out there, breaker. I mean, how does this go, right? Breaker, we're the SWAT team. We're on location. We're ready to head in. We're not giving you permission to head in yet. Hang on a minute. We're trying to figure things out. But a whole bunch of people are dying, sir. Well, we don't really care. We have to figure out what we got to do first. So hang on. The Miramar Police Department officers identified by the Florida Sun Sentinel as detectives Jeffrey Gilbert and Carl Schlosser did not advise supervisor they were going to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where confessed mass murderer, except guess what? He had a plea, ladies and gentlemen. His plea in court was not guilty until just a few days ago, and we'll get to that. So maybe he was confessed, or maybe they tricked him into confessing. They do those sort of things. Allegedly wiped out 17 students and staff, and allegedly. So confessed, supposedly, according to the news, he's confessed, but it's still alleged. The reporting of the mainstream manufactured news is appalling. And out of the whole thing, we had the FBI that said, hey, we know about this guy, but we're going to do nothing. We had police officers standing outside doing nothing. We have police or SWAT team members rushing to the scene to save the kids, and they're in trouble. Yet the FBI, nothing. No trouble over at the FBI. The police department, the police enforcement agency, the law enforcement agency, they're in Florida, in this town here. They're dropping fall guys left and right. They dropping a fall guy for not going in and dropping fall guys for going in. Apparently, either way was bad. So how are we supposed to save the kids from a future attack if you're telling me the cops can't go rushing in without permission to save the kids? And if a guy's sitting outside doing nothing, he has to lose his job. Which way is it? How can you have it both ways? You want to know why this event happened? Again, it was the FBI who was lackluster in their investigations, just like almost every prior shooter and attacker and terrorist attack going back to the Boston bombing. Then you have a local police agency that suspends a guy, or a guy resigns because he didn't go in. and it was embarrassing or something. I don't know why he didn't go in, but whatever. He wasn't allowed to go in, apparently. He followed his job, because from what I'm hearing in this is that they're telling him not to go in. Don't go in without permission, folks. Don't go in without permission. Doesn't matter if we're going to save people's lives. Don't go in there without permission. Now, to get back on the alleged shooter, the suspect withdraws his plea. The Florida shooter suspect's lawyer has filed court papers saying he is withdrawing his preliminary not guilty plea and will enter a no plea at all. So he went in and said not guilty, and now he's saying, well, I'm not going to plead anything right now. But allegedly he confessed. But now you can't confess and then call it not guilty. Now it's no plea deal. The whole thing's a mess. Public Defender's Office said the young man would plead guilty if prosecutors do not pursue the death penalty, but no decision has been announced on that. Now, I'd like to get back to a local talk show host, Mr. Frank Beckman. He's on 760 AM, WJR. I listen to him on the way to my day job when I'm, having to do that stupid thing. He said this week that these guys don't care if they get killed when they do it. And I'm telling you, Frank, you're an idiot. In fact, I've been listening to Frank a lot lately, and I'm wondering, how the heck is he so popular? And then other people, yours truly included, don't get squat compared to him. This guy sits here and rambles on all day, has guests on and all that, and he probably knows, about what I know on most of these things. Maybe a little less. You can't tell with these guys. And he makes the statement that these guys are doing it because they don't care if they're going to die. And I'm telling him, you're wrong, man. I have it right on this one. They want to be famous, Frank. I know you're probably not listening because I'm not as cool as you. But listen, Frank. These guys are not doing it because they don't care about their lives or they don't care about living anymore. Most of these people are sociopaths, narcissists. They want to be famous. And boy, the mainstream media, including you, Mr. Frank Beckman, Mr. Frank Beckman, including you, sir, have been talking about this guy, have been saying his name and making him more popular. He's probably more popular than, what's his name? Charlie Manson. He's probably more popular now than Charlie Manson. So you know what? The next guy is going to go, well, geez, I can't get popular any other way. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go shoot up something. Then we have the law down in Florida. The NRA is suing the law, by the way. NRA sues Florida over a gun bill the same day the governor signs it into law. And the law covers, allowing teachers to have weapons if they want, taking away gun stocks, or bump stocks, I'm sorry. Now, if anybody's been paying attention to this story, it's big time news, right? Was a bump stock used in this shooting? Do you know the answer to that? The answer is no, it was not used. Then why is it part of a law that comes from this shooting? And why does the law not entail investigating the FBI in something? Why isn't there an FBI investigation on why this guy got through? Just like everybody practically since the Boston bombing. Can't answer me that. So we have a law that makes it illegal to have bump stocks, yet the bump stock wasn't used. in the attack. The AR-15, still there, by the way, which is fine. I'd rather not the gun laws to be changed. Now, and they're raising the sale to 21. So if that's the case, if we're going to raise the sale of firearms to people who are 21 instead of 18, then shouldn't we change it so you can't go into the military until you're 21? Because if someone can go into the military at 18, spend 2 years in the military, the minimum, and then come out and you're 20 and you want to buy a gun and you've been fully trained, you still can't buy a gun? How ridiculous is that? So we either raise the age to match that to go into the military, or this law is completely stupid. I told you weeks ago how we fix this. You add anyone between the ages of 18 to 25. I'm covering a bigger area. Anybody from the ages of 18 to 25, you have to have a sponsor to buy a gun. You have to. And the sponsor's got to have 5 years of experience with a gun. After 25, it doesn't matter. That would go a lot further in sorting out the whack jobs than this law is. All you're doing is preventing the whack job from getting it a few years, which is going to build up their hostility, or at least could build up their hostility. So when they finally do get their gun, they have plenty of time to plan this rampage that they've been wanting to do. And that takes out the total fact, that dismisses the idea that this person could have been manipulated, or any of these people could be manipulated or twisted into doing these sort of things. Again, another law, and I told you so. I mean, I don't want to carry on with this again, but it took 3 weeks, 2 weeks to make this happen in Florida. And now more states are going to follow. We're having a national walkout. Kids are nationally walking out for 15 minutes over this. What do you guys... I don't understand the mentality behind this. These symbolic gestures, symbolic political gestures are the most useless thing. It's like those things on Facebook that say, I want to raise awareness for some sort of cancer, so I'm going to have a meme up there, and we're going to need a lot of likes. Those are useless gestures. The law that was just passed is a useless gesture because it's not tackling the main issue. Why didn't the cops go in when they obviously had a chance? The cops that did go in to defend the kids are being punished. The FBI, who knew about these guys, and I'm saying these guys because this is not the first time they had reports of a subject and they did nothing about it, or they might have talked to some subjects and whatever after that. It still happened. Nothing about the Promise program, which if we didn't have the Promise program, then this kid would have been found out a lot earlier and he might have been busted before this thing could have ever happened. The odds were in the favor of him avoiding being busted earlier because of some stupid government program that doesn't want kids to have a record. Doesn't want kids to have a record, even though the kid is a bad apple. See the lunacy that government engages in. It's frustrating. It is seriously frustrating watching these politicians dance around their mistakes and then they take it out on law-abiding people through gun laws and this rule and that rule. The FBI failed, the government failed, the police force failed, and here we have a law that addresses none of those issues. And the sad thing is, ladies and gentlemen, more laws like this one are coming, and it's going to do nothing to prevent the wackos from doing these dastardly deeds. We got to take a quick timeout. More on the flip side.
Where do you think you're going?
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down. Stay right here. Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, in this final segment of the first hour. Thank you for spending the time with me. A few more little tidbits before we head on out of here for the first hour, and we'll do some different stuff in the second hour. But to dovetail on what we were talking about just before the break, looks like retailers, Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart, are going to take a harder line on guns, and they're going to make it where you got to be 21 years old to buy a weapon out of their retailer. And there's an 18-year-old who is suing Dick's Sporting Goods in particular. And to be very consistent here, I have to say that Dick's Sporting Goods can decide who and what they want to sell to. And if they want to decide to sell only to people who are 21 and older, that's fine with me, because it's their business and they can do business with whoever they choose to do business with. We hear a lot of the gun people out there complaining about this, but weren't they the ones that were saying, hey, if a cake shop doesn't want to make a cake for a gay couple, they shouldn't be forced into doing it? Well, you got to stay. And if you're going to be consistent, ladies and gentlemen, then you have to stand by Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart in this action. It's their business. And if they don't want to sell to somebody for whatever reason, that's on their business. If there's repercussions from that, fine. But when you get these, it's the same group of people who say, well, you can't force a Christian person to make a cake for a gay wedding. Well, you can't force Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart to sell guns to people they feel are too young to sell guns to. This person who's suing Dick's Sporting Goods, you can go to any other gun shop and get your gun, but he's trying to make an example of Dick's Sporting Goods here. And so's the lawyer involved. It's all a plan. If we look deep into this, this is probably concocted in some back room. Hey, let's send a young kid out there to challenge us right off the bat, because the NRA already had a lawsuit in place against Florida for their new law that they put in place for the same reason, 21 years or older. Now, I'm not for the law to be changed on age for getting a gun. I think these people should be able to get guns. They just need some kind of sponsor to make sure that they're not a mental case. I don't have a problem with 18-year-olds owning a gun, because if they can go to war, they sure as heck should be able to buy a gun on their own. If the U.S. military is going to entrust them with some sort of weaponry, then they should be, on their own terms, outside of a military situation, be able to purchase an item that they would be trained for at the same age in the military. But we're also dealing with private companies in Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart when you're talking about them imposing the 21-year-old and up situation. They're within their rights, as far as I'm concerned, to do such a thing. And people are well within their rights to take their business somewhere else. Instead of trying to force Dick's Sporting Goods into doing something they don't want to do, take your business somewhere else. It's that simple. But people want to make an example of Dick's Sporting Goods. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Of course, we had the awesome month of February as far as the jobs report is concerned. 300,000+ jobs created, blah, blah, blah. Unemployment at an all-time low or whatever. In just a year and some months, we went from Obama totally lying about the the economy and the jobs reports and all that. That's all you heard on the right. Oh, we had this many people, record number of people out of work. We still have that record amount. There's still a lot of people deciding they're not going back to work. And these jobs that were created, some of them are good, some of them are not so good. We're also in that time of year, which people every year seem to forget. We're in that time of year that spring is slowly creeping in, which means construction jobs are going to be increasing, which is going to add jobs to the workforce, add people to the workforce, which is going to help numbers. And am I poo-pooing the whole jobs number report? Well, yes, because we didn't believe it during Obama. Things haven't changed all that much since Trump has taken office as far as they're saying, oh, this many jobs are created. What jobs? I'm talking to my friends who are looking for jobs, and nobody seems to be able to find a job worth anything. Sure, the low pay, there's a whole bunch of low paying jobs out there. And that they're counting all these in the numbers. But we still have a great deal amount of people sitting at home, either collecting some kind of check or just gave up on the whole work thing. And they're touting this. That's another thing. You never see the conservative media talking about how many people are not in the workforce right now. They did that all during Obama. I did it myself. Well, I'm going to talk about it now. There's still just about the same amount of people not in the workforce. It is amazing how the reporting of facts have flip-flopped since the presidency has flip-flopped. Just incredible. Tally on to that, obviously, we're not done with tax plans anymore. We thought we were done with the tax plan. We thought, 14% reduction for corporations and hardly anything for the individual. You can give families a little tax credit back. But the Democrats aren't happy, so they're introducing a tax plan to cause a tax hike. They're looking to raise taxes after we just did a major tax plan. You see, this stuff never goes away, ladies and gentlemen. The immigration issue never goes away. It keeps getting bigger. We were told the whole tax thing was historic and it was over. Well, now they're talking about more tax bills in the future. Can we get this right? Or is it a fact that we keep dredging up these same old tired issues because that's the only thing to keep the American people busy? Well, we're sick of the immigration issue. Whether you're on the right, left, or wherever I'm considered to be at. Tired of the immigration issue. This should have been solved one way or another, and we shouldn't be talking about it in 2018. It's a sad state that we're in. Taxes are brought up again. I thought that was over with. Immigration's never over with. Now we're going to have a constant talk about Obamacare because we can't get rid of that. It's still there. So what if the mandate's not there for this year or next year? As soon as the Democrats get back in power, mark my words, they will put that sucker back in there if Obamacare is still around. Because the Democrats want the mandate in there. They like forcing people to pay into a system. So we have a tax hike coming, or an attempted tax hike coming. Some days it gets really hard to continue to talk about this stuff because it's so ridiculous that it's a repeat issue. And that's all that talk radio seems to talk about. I mean, the mainstream guys, that's all they go over, the same thing, right, left, right, left, right, left. And occasionally you get somebody who talks about something different, but it's the topic of the day and everybody argues over it. And it never goes away, because if it went away, we would find out that these politicians aren't worth a diddly squat. And in my last subject for the evening, scientists have found trapped in a diamond a type of ice not known to Earth before. Trapped in a rigid structure of diamonds formed deep in the Earth's crust, scientists have discovered a form of water ice that was not previously known to occur naturally on our planet. The findings, published Thursday in Science, represents the first detection of natural occurring ice, they're calling it Ice 7, ever found on Earth. As it sometimes happens in the scientific process, it was discovered entirely by accident. Ice 7 is about 1.5 times as dense as the regular ice we put in our drinks and skate on in the wintertime. And the crystalline structures of its atoms are different as well. So we have a new form of ice that scientists have discovered. And the reason I bring this up is very simple. There are so many things that we do not know about, yet science, quote unquote science, declares things to be, and then later down the road we find out that it's not as they had told us, or it's a variation or a slight move off of that, because we find out more and more and more stuff as we do our scientific research. Unlike some of the engineering research they like to call science, but isn't science, even though they may use science as more engineering. Here we find out that there's a new form of ice that they found inside little diamonds. Diamonds. Interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining me this hour. We've run against the clock here, as always, and we still didn't get to everything I wanted to get to. We're going to talk more in the second hour. Check your local listings for your favorite station to find out when that second hour is. Sometimes it's right after this first hour, and on other stations it's on another time or day. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. We've got archives of the show. Lots of cool things are going to be happening on the website. We're going to be going through a little bit of a transition coming up here in the next few months, and you're going to find out all that information right there on the website. So tune into that place, www.jlebang.com, to find out all the stuff that's coming down the pike. I'd like to thank all my affiliate stations for supporting the John Lebang Show, and of course you, the listener, which I couldn't do this show without you giving me your ear and time. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John Lebang signing off for the first hour.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space,